Okay, beautiful. So you're welcome to another beautiful week where we would be making knowledge available for one another, would be growing knowledge and be ensuring we learn so much about project management and become better to increase our performances. So before I move on, let me first of all tell us that today's class will be pretty brief. I wouldn't want to keep you more than 1 hour, maximum 1 hour today, though it depends on the flow. And today we would be talking about project resource management. Resources is very important, and it's good we have understanding of what is required as regards materials, equipment, and the personnel. Personnel could be labor for us to complete the individual activities on our work breakdown structure up to the project completion. You know, we talked about cascading the work breakdown structure to the work package level and further subdividing the work packages down to the activity where estimation would be made. When you pick an activity, it will be then easier for you to make an estimate of the resources required to complete that activity. So in this knowledge area, we want to talk about the project resource management, which has to do with we identifying and also acquiring, managing the resources needed for the successful completion of our project. And this process would help us to ensure the right resources will be available to, just give me a minute, please. Okay. So that is about that we identifying, acquiring, and managing the resources needed for the successful completion of our project. So when you talk about completing an activity with the required resources, we are talking about rightness, the right resources. And when would the right resources be available? And how much of these right resources that are required to complete the activity? Without understanding resource requirements, without understanding what management of resources entails, we would not be able to complete our project successfully. Like I said, every project would have activities, and everything that would have to do with that activity would reflect on cost and at the same time. If you underestimate your resources, you may be overloading the resources, and which will lead to project failure. So in this area, for us to completely, judiciously take care of the project resources, we would be looking at plan resource management, which will come out with the resource management plan, then estimate activity resources. We would look at how to acquire resources and develop the team. You develop the team, yeah, because you don't expect personnel.
You're breaking up a little.
I'm breaking up, right? Okay, just hold on. I think I'm going to be switching networks if I'm breaking up. Just give me a minute. Okay, just hold on, I'm with you. Let me ensure that I have the right network on. All right, let's see if it will still be breaking. Once it breaks, just let me know. So I would switch over to something else. All right, so we have 6 sub-processes to deal with in this area. The first one is plan resource management. Second, estimate activity resources. Then acquire those resources. Then you develop the team. Once the team is developed, you have to manage the team. As the project is in execution, you must control those resources because you don't want overusage. And also, you don't really want underusage. You just want to ensure that the resource management plan is followed as you carry out your project activities. So when we say plan resource management, what do we mean? We are talking about the process actually that entails defining how to carry out estimation of resources and how to acquire them and manage them. Then coming to estimate activity resources, like we have been talking about, we've talked about the activity time management. We talked about making time estimates, and we also looked at cost estimation, where I told us the 3 parts estimates, the project evaluation and review techniques. We looked at the analogous estimate. We also talked about the parametric estimate and the bottom-up estimate. So here now, without these activities, without these resources, we may not be able to even conclude at how much is required as per finances for the completion of an activity. Because we pay the personnel, and every personnel must have their rate, maybe hourly rating. And so that's why we have to estimate the activity resources, okay, and know how much is required as activity may be, materials, equipment, and personnel. So when we say acquire resources, this is the process of obtaining team members, process of obtaining facilities, process of obtaining the equipment, materials, the supplies, and other resources necessary to complete the project work. And we must check their availability. You know, certain times some materials may not be available in the market. So you need to know what to do in this area. Alternative analysis would have to come up. We'll see how to make use of what is available to achieve what is desired. Then number 4, which is develop team. This is the process of ensuring that the competency of team members improves. We ensure that the way they interact get better, and they can also understand the overall environment to come up with a greater and a better performance. So this is about that. So trainings could be carried, setting, we would be required sometimes to set ground rules. And we look at team members that are not meeting up to ensure that they are cautioned. And this would enable them perform as desired. Then number 5, which is manage team. We must ensure that team performances attract, and we would ensure that they provide feedbacks If there are issues, we resolve the issues. And in a place where optimization is required, when we say optimization, we're talking about using the little available material to achieve more. And this may be part of the designing. So this leads us to control resources. And this is the process of ensuring that the physical resources assigned and allocated to the project are available as planned. Hold on. Just a minute more. I want to, because I'm in a place, I'm in an environment and where I believe you're getting the feedback from the background this class must hold. So I'm just ensuring that we get it done where I am. So you will bear with the background noise a little, but I would try to improve on that. So having said that, let's go down to want to talk about all these 6 sub-processes which we have introduced. So talking about planned resource management, you know your flag output will be resource management plan. And in this process, we want to ensure that we come up with that document that will enable us identify individual roles and their responsibilities, the skill level required. And also we must ensure that we come up with the right reporting and the reporting relationships, who send what to who is receiving what will be the level of detail. Okay. And in this area, in the resource management plan, we'll need also the staffing management plan. This is the baby of the resource project resource manager. She deals with the personnel. That's an aspect of the staffing. She deals with who is available and when would the person be brought in to the project. Okay, so that's about that. And we must ensure that the roles are documented and the expertise required are also documented. And here I said it may also include identification of training needs, team building strategies, and plans for recognition and rewarding. The year now you're going to performance improvement. You want to ensure that people who are doing well are rewarded. People who are doing, performing well are trained to come up to the required standard. So what are our inputs? We need to check with the project charter as our input. We still need to see the project management plan. In the project management plan, we will see the work breakdown structure. In the work breakdown structure, we would cite what? We will cite the work packages. In the work packages, we will also see the activities down there. And these activities are found in the project management plan. And it can also be found in the project management, to be found in the what scope management plan. So all that are what we'll do. And also the time management plan will still have these activities and their level of estimation when it comes to time management. So that is that. So we still need to make documentations of all these processes and everything we are creating in here. We still have to get in touch with the enterprise environmental factors. Remember, we are considering an environment. We are performing in an environment, and this environment must be, right perspected in a way that we will not be remote from reality. So we would ensure we have the standards that are within the domain of our project. We want to understand the government body languages, understand the permits required, the laws, and the policies that the government has that would encourage the successful completions of our project. So these are things that we would do. So the organizational process assets are also important. We must have a good inclination of our project resource management would be conducted. So we must look at our historical prowesses. What do we have there? What have we done in time past that can speed up what we have in and that can give us good clarity of what we should be doing now? So we still would be required to look at all that, gather all the templates, all the documents that we have therein, and look at expertise where we can drag knowledges and put together and speed up the project. So we need the other tools also for us to come up with the resource management plan. We need to be in touch with people who have hands-on experience, people who have good expertise in this domain of resource management. We still have to look at available data. When we have this data, the data must be juggled in a way that they can give sense, they can make sense, they can give an understanding, they can communicate wisdom, they can show trends, they can show, yeah, we can show reality. So that's about that. And also we need to understand the organizational theory. When we say organizational theory, we're talking about what? There is a way people behave in all organizations. So this provides information regarding the way in which people, the teams and organizations behave. Okay, so effective use of this information can actually lead to a good control of our time, a good control of our cost, a good control of our efforts that will enable us create the resource management plan. If you don't know how they behave in that organization, you would be expecting results when they, you just have to understand how they behave. When you say come, how can they understand come? How, the way they behave in the organization, knowing it can enable you get the desired result. Yeah. So can I get a feedback if I should move on, and if you have the network a little bit stable? Is it better?
It's a little better now.
Okay. I apologize. Okay. It's going to be getting better by the day as we move on. So this would give birth to 3 outputs: resource management plan, the team charter, and project document would be updated. So these are the 3 outputs that are needed. So in the resource management plan, like I said, we need to look at the roles and the responsibilities. In this area, we have to come up with the org chart, that is the project organization chart. We have to come up with a staffing management plan. We have to look at the materials and the equipment that are required to complete, that are available also in the market, that are also required and that would be used. So we need to understand them and look at the terrain and see how we can go about them, coming up with the knowledge that can judiciously take care of this, represent the resource management plan. So we move on to estimating activities. Haven't done that. In estimating activities, remember, we just want to look at the available resources that would complete the individual activities. Like I said, estimate activity resources is the process of estimating the type and quantities of material, quantities of personnel, quantities of equipment or supplies required to perform each activity. Yeah. So the same strategy we had for the project time estimation, the project cost estimation is what we're going to be using here. We had experts coming in as part of our tools and technique. We did bottom-up estimate. We also did analogous estimating. We looked at parametric estimate. We talked about analyzing the data. We also looked at the project management information system like the Primavera that we would be using about 2 weeks from now, that we will be learning how to use about 2 weeks from now. So we held meetings. So in this area, we want to estimate the resources for an activity of like a book research. We may want to look at the domain and say, okay, how many persons would be available should get this done for us? Having looked at the activity and its peculiarity, we can now start estimating the personnel and materials that they would need in a place where equipment will be required. How many? We are looking at quantities of the materials here, or volume of supplies for this activity. And this is what we are costing, remember. These things, material, people, equipment, or supplies are what we are costing to come up with activity estimation, financial estimation, or activity cost estimate. This is what we are checking the market for. And with this, we can understand the S-curve, how much is needed for us, how much is needed to complete a given activity in time. So with these tools, you know that any kind of estimate you want to carry out around the world, if it is in the early part of the project, you may want to use an analogous estimate. You're looking at historical data, you're looking at historical statistics to be able to make judgment of how much resources there is needed to complete your own project in hand. That is in the beginning of a project. You have not started carrying out the planning. You're just given a kind of tentative figure. So, but when we go down and we now want to ensure that we have good accuracy to our perspective, what do? We may want to get in touch with the parametric estimate. Right now, if we need a particular material, what is the size? Where can we get it? How much is the cost of a unit? And how much do we need? See, we are doing some mathematical evaluation and coming up with a figure. And like I said, this is more accurate than the analogous estimate. So when you estimate activity resources, you come up with the resource requirement. You now know what all the activities for research, what is needed. You cannot talk about for research, these are the activities, these are the resources that are required. For editing, these are the activity and the resources that are required. And for what? For book cover design, if it is a book, but if it is for constructions, you can look at the individual work packages to say these are the activity and the resources that are required. But when you are making estimate, like I said, always come up with your basis of estimates. The basis of estimate is like your own assumptions, the reasons why you say it should be 4, 5. You want to give your reasons. Because if you don't present that, someone may be thinking 3 should be enough. Whereas you could have considered the terrain and identify some peculiarity that may take more or take less. And that's the reason why you're coming up with the figure which you have. So the basis of every estimate must be speculated. So moving down, you still need the resource breakdown structure. When you now embed these activities requirement, resource requirement in the activity that are found in the work breakdown structure, you will see how the activities are broken down. In some areas, you need 2 engineers. Some areas, you need 2 estimators. Some areas, you need 2 trainers. You will just be looking at how they are placed in the network diagram. So the resources are broken down and the project would have new document, like all these documents we are creating, these estimates, this resource requirement, more things will come out of it and things will become more clearer to us than it has been. Does this make sense? Can I have a feedback, please? Okay, in the absence of none, let's move on. So analyzing data, what are the data? We are looking at the various level of resource capability or skills. You have to still know, do we have people with the right knowledge in the market, in this domain, that can get this done for us? If yes, we go straight up and now start talking about hiring them. If no, what do? We now hire those that are available and move into a contractual agreement with training firms that will help bring them up to speed. That's where the training of team would have to come in. Building of team is required of us. So we still will look at the different sizes or the type of machines that are available. And if we get this, what advantages should we have, and so forth. And we look at if we have to make the activity ourselves, or we will outsource it to an external source. So here we do the make, rent, or the buy decision. In a project that is short, within 3 months, 1 year, sometimes you are encouraged to ensure that you rent your equipment. But if you know that you stay on the site for like 4, 5, 6, 10 years, you better use your own. This means you have to be buying so you can save the costs. You save the additional fund in time. Yeah. So moving down, let's get to the next one. I think we are clear there. That's now we have to acquire resources. We want to acquire resources. This is where procurement activity is carried out. This is where human resource activities are carried out. So acquire resources, we want to obtain the team members. We want to obtain facilities. We want to buy equipment. We want to hire equipment. We want to rent equipment. We want to procure materials. We want to also, buy supplies and all the resources necessary to complete the project work. So we're going to be making lots of decisions here. Which supplies are we buying? Who are we buying from? And what would they be supplying? What is the volume? It is in this area we will be looking at economies of scale. Should we put all our required materials together and buy from one man so the volume will go up so it can give us some discounted rate? These decisions are made in this domain. But most of the tools we use here are not actually placed on stone. We are not using software so much. Though, yeah, we use software, but it is our interpersonal and team skills that are required here. Soft skills that are required here. And here now you can see that part of the tools, we have the pre-assignment and we have the virtual teams. I'm going to be talking about them, but let's take a look at the inputs. We need to see the project management plan. We need to also understand the documents that are available. We need to analyze the enterprise environmental factors and the organizational process assets. And we're going to be having lots of output, about 8 of them here. The output includes physical resource assignment. You now know that these are the materials that are assigned to these activities. These are the equipment assigned to these activities. Now the project team members will now have their responsibilities also. And also when those resources will be required will be found on the resource calendars. You see the resource calendar? When you look at the resource calendar, you should know when you are on duty. You should know when the EPAN will be used. You should know when the bulldozers, the earth movers would be used. You should know when the crane would be in operation. That is what the resource calendar would speculate. When am I coming to work and how long would I be there? The resource calendar would depict it and clearly you will see it. So now with this explanation, you now know what resource calendar can do for you. And when you look at all these, having analyzed these inputs, you would know when you have to be asking for a change in the project management plan, where you may want to raise a change request, And once the change request has been approved, you kindly update that aspect of it before you now start making use of it. So the project management plan will be updated and all the project documents will be updated with this recent knowledge and these decisions which we have made. The enterprise environmental factors, we are more closer to them now. We can now have knowledge of the actuals that may guide our project to move us forward and further close to the end of the project. Okay, we can now also fine-tune our organizational process asset if the softwares we are using are not hopping in time. Here now we would say, okay, we don't need this aspect of it. Let's remove this aspect. Let's rather call for an upgrade of this aspect. Let's change this, let's change that. Let's look for these materials. When we want to carry out estimate, these and these personnel should be on ground. The team should report to these people. So when you have all this, you see that you now know that you have the right resources. You have negotiated, you now know how much you will be paying in time. So all that are done. So now moving down, this brings us, okay, like I said, I will talk about virtual team and pre-assignment. You need to know what pre-assignment is. Pre-assignment is like You have identified what the resources would be doing for you, and haven't understood what the resources will be doing for you. And in time, they may be engaged, or maybe you feel you have not enough resources. I'm talking about personnel now around. So even if it's a project that would be executed like a year in the future, you may want to pre-assign them and make them understand that, okay, from 2026, July 15 to 2027, July 19, you would be working for me, going to a contractual agreement with them. And you now know at that time, you wouldn't wait for them to finish what they are doing before you start contracting them. You now start booking things down. You now start paying for equipment down. Because you don't want to get to when you would use them and start looking for them and start discovering that they are not available. Your schedule is already imparted. So one of these tools would be like virtual teams. When we say virtual, we are putting together team members that are not co-located. They are not in a war room. They are not in the same building. They are working on the same project. But since we have observed some constraints of putting them together in a place, we try to come up with the strategy of making them work for us wherever they are. Yeah. So that's what we do. So that is about that. So you now have this team now. You have the personnel, you have the materials paid for, some brought into the property land of the organization. So we have to now start looking at developing the team. So developing the team is the process of improving the competencies. Like I said, team interactions must be enhanced and ensuring that they can adapt with one another and get used to the project environment so they can perform better. You want to improve on their performances. So the project managers should ensure they identify the present skills of the personnel and come up with strategy of building them and maintaining them and looking for ways to motivate these people to do more and to get better. It's your job to inspire your team members. Because some persons may not be able to perform very well and achieve high without your inspiration. And if they can't do that, they may not be able, they might be thinking that the project objectives is too much and they cannot get that done. But when you talk to some people, show them some areas and bring out some expertise from them, you see that they would be wondering if they are the ones that are performing at that level. Yeah. Another areas of this team development is the teamwork. Lots of people knows how to work all alone in isolation. When you put them in a team, most times they now start storming. They now start looking for ways to outshine one another instead of working as a team. So it is your responsibility to identify that and to let them know that we have a common goal. We are not looking for who is better. We are not looking for who is smarter. We are not looking for who is more educated than the other, but we are just trying to ensure that this team delivers what the project owner had contracted them to deliver and to deliver it with good satisfaction. Okay, so that is about that area. Moving down, now let's take a look at the tools. Tools, always you see that your project management plan is reflecting. Your project document must be cited. You want to develop people, you must see what you want them to do, to know their capacity, what they can do. Some of them in time without training may not be able to give you 60% of what you want them to do. Some of them haven't been trained for 1 month. They may do more 2 months, they may maybe improve, they can deliver 75%, and you just have to keep training them. So you need to look at the project management plan, you look at the project documentations, you also look at the enterprise environmental factors, the organizational process asset. For those that are joining us today, the word enterprise environmental factors may be sounding so ambiguous, may be sounding so large, but if you can go back to the previous videos, you'll see that these are just as they appear: enterprise, like our organization; environmental, what is surrounding our organization, the factors that we cannot ignore that could influence the success of our organization positively or negatively. And one of it could be the government and the governmental policies. So all these are what we're talking about. The organizational process assets are those things we have, okay, that can enable us achieve success and achieve them very, very well. So that's about that. If you're building a team, you will now understand that some team members cannot do well. I'm talking about tools and techniques now. Some team members cannot do well without putting them together in a place. Some team members cannot be managed remotely. That's where co-location. Co-location, another word for co-location is war room. Co-location is like you gathering your team. You must be in there at times, even if they are virtual. There may be at times that you may want to meet with some personnel, putting them together in a single building, talking to them, working with them. Those ones must be brought together. And when we say virtual teams, like I explained, remotely they are performing. There are some people that can work remotely. There are some people that if you put them together, they may be distracting others. So what do? You want to see how you can keep them in different areas. You just understand what can give you the result and give you the right results with the least cost. So for all these, either virtual or co-location, you still need communication technologies. We need to be sending emails. We need to be using Teams for trainings. We need to ensure that we are looking at what they have done and what they cannot do to come up with knowledges of what should be taught them. And when we talk about developing team, one of the tools you must use is your interpersonal and team skills. You now know that some teachers are better than some teachers, even if you give them the same tools to use. It's just inbuilt. It's just in them. Maybe the way they communicate, the kind of words they use. How can they go down? Some teachers, when they teach, they still want to hold on to their pride. While some teachers may even roll on the floor to transfer their perspective to their trainees, so the trainees can well understand what they should know. So these are interpersonal skills, and they are not you may not be able to describe it, but once that kind of person is impacting you, you will just be receiving knowledge like, how is he doing it? He uses the kind of words that may appeal to you, that can transfer knowledge to you faster and better. And then you are developing a team. You must learn how to recognize people that are performing well. When I say recognize, it's not to only identify them. You want to give them some rewards, some incentives for achieving certain goals. And then the ones that are not doing well, you train them constantly. And the ones that are doing well, you use them to train others. So they too can get better. The more you train, the more you get better. I believe at the end of this class, I will be as good as you are. Yeah. Because I'm learning some new things from every one of us that are here. So that leads us to, you have trained your team. What are the outputs? The performance assessments. You now see what they can do. You can come up with an understanding of their performances in a place where the training is not adding value. What do? You come up with change requests. You look at the project management, project management plan, you update it. Maybe you adopt a training strategy. You adopt a trainer. You adopt a kind of training that every new employee must be exposed to. Then you update the enterprise environmental factors. You also update the organizational process assets. I think I shared this material last time, but there are 5 words I want to talk to us about when we talked about it coming to this area of team building. The 5 words include forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjoining. I'm going to tell you a story first before I start explaining that. Should I tell you a story first or should I explain first? Okay. So these are team behavior. They are indeed team behaviors that should be understood. As a project manager, you should understand these 5 pattern of team behaviors. They are in stages. So you would know where your team is. The first one is forming. When you first put the team together.
Out again.
It's breaking?
Yes.
All right. I know. I knew it broke. As if I just felt it. And I said somebody will be shouting out very soon. And all of a sudden your voice came. So can I ride on? Should I continue? Oh, if he's in this class, should I continue? Please just speak, kind of unmute and say, yeah, if you can hear me. If you cannot hear me, the network has gone bad. Until you come back, we will not start until you can hear me clearly. Okay. Beautiful. Somebody should tell me if it's better now before I share my screen. Is it clear?
So far it is.
Okay. Simone, thank you very much. You have been so helpful. You see now, look at what you're doing for me, brother. When I ask questions, some persons may not want to talk, but you are just there, guiding me to know when we are off. Okay, so these are, I think these are top. It's from Thomas Kuhlman. Yeah, Thomas Kuhlman. Thomas Kuhlman, 5 stages of team performance. It's from Thomas Kuhlman. Somebody may want to Google it, and at the end of the day, let's know if I can still remember the name. So these 5 stages must be understood. If peradventure it happens that you would be putting together a team and you will be leading them from the beginning of a project till the end, you need to understand this. The first one is the forming, and this phase is where the team meets. You're putting them together. They want to start learning about each other and learning about the project, what their former roles should be, their responsibilities. This is forming, and team members at this time tend to be independent. Everybody want to retire to themselves. Everybody would want to maintain a kind of way. For some persons, they may want to be speaking in certain ways, just like they are just coming from Zion, and they are at this time, because they are just only, you're forming them. The team is not formed. You're putting them together. This is the first stage, and the next is the storming. The storming stage, he said, during this stage, the team begins to address the project work and make technical decisions and the project management approach. And now, this area, it could be destructive. You know why? People would be trying to show capacity better than the other. Look at this local man. Do you know how long I've been on the project? They want to show capacity, intimidate each other. At this point, I'll tell you a story, a quick one. When I started my career, I was in a team with one other guy. Yesterday I got the thought of that guy came into my mind yesterday. We were in a team. I came from this place where we just keep things natural and where we use our street inclination to get some things done. And I was just myself doing the job as a young engineer. Unknowing to me, this guy never liked me, but we were supposed to be team members, 2 of us in a team. Sometimes we do back to back. If I'm on the project, he's off. If he's on, I'm off. So We share reports sometimes. We are sent on the same responsibility, but he never wanted to be my friend. He just always want to make me appear inferior, like he's better than me. And but I was not in competition with him. I was not even seeing what he was saying, because where I came from, if we are not laughing, smiling, we are not always serious about the job in hand. We will still find a way to laugh. We will still find a way to play. You know, that's where I came from. But he would just keep this strict face, and that's how he behaved. He never liked me for a very long time. And so doing, when a responsibility is being given to us, he would, okay, I see the network is down. He would, when a responsibility is given to us, he would go for and would want to go and carry it alone and report it, so that he can show the managers that he did it alone, not understanding what teamwork can do. He does not know that I have so much to give to him, but I know that he has so much in him that I do not have, that I would want to take. So I'm always trying to befriend him, trying to ensure that he comes. So let's work together. But he would just be, we were just storming, just to say that when teams are put together, sometimes those who do not understand that they are playing the same game, they have common objective, will not start trying to show capacity. We want to start playing the reports of others down, arguing to want to win an argument. So they do that. So you, as the project manager, you must know that when you put people together, not too long, they will start storming. So if you don't know that, you may not know what to do. I haven't known this. So before you start putting the team together, you started setting up ground rules. You started setting up ground rules of how they should behave and how they should not behave, so it can guide them not to insult one another, but to deliver the project. So when your team do that, you use ground rule to straighten it. Then norming. At this time, in this norming phase, the team members will begin to work together. Even now that the shoulders are high, the shoulders are becoming down. They can now start recognizing what others have that may complement what they have. They can now start, because of your ground rules, they can now start thinking together. They can now begin to work and adjust their work habits and behavior to support the team's success. At this phase, that's what they do. So you must ensure that you are driving them through from the forming to pass the storming very, very fast to the norming, where they can now start thinking together, learning about one another together, and move them immediately to the performing stage. That is your target. You want to take them to the performing stage. If they perform so well, not too long, the project will be adjourned. So the teams that reach the performing stage function as well-organized team. They are interdependent and work through issues smoothly and effectively. So that is about them. And then this takes us to the end of the project. Remember, we are on a project where we adjourn. In this place, we want to ensure that people have completed their responsibilities, and we can now sign them off at the completion of the project. So remember, I don't know if any one of you have experience in line with this storming I talked about. My dear friend, if he's always full of experiences, if he's somewhere that he can be allowed to talk, please, can you share with us if you have experienced that storming? Each time, okay, beautiful.
I believe I have.
Okay.
Different cases, but the way I have most of my professional experience happened to be on a team where we have different scientists, basically, or different specialists working together on the same project. So yeah, that could be difficult because we have all this what I call ologists competing for whatever it is that they are protecting. For example, me as a geologist, my goal is to extract minerals from the ground. And that could be the project which is being proposed by a private company. Whereas I have the biologist, and for the biologist, there's usually two of them. There's the botanist who's there to protect some kind of plants that is on the listed species. And then there's a wildlife specialist, another biologist who's there to protect some, now I'm no longer with them, I could call it stupid, some stupid rabbit or some lizard, flat-tailed horn lizard, like a very, very stupid, if you ask me, who happen to live in that area. So they're there to protect those. I want this private company to extract the mineral, but then the project plan has to be done in such a way that those animals are protected, those plants are protected, and then the archaeologist is there to protect the land on behalf of the Native Americans. And then we have the recreational specialists who say, oh no, this part of the land is supposed to be used for camping. So we have all of these competing folks, all in the same project. Some are there to shut you down. Well, I want the project to go through. So that's where I would say this kind of thing happened in my own experience. In such a situation, you just have to remove self from it. And just work together with everyone. At the end of the day, this is just one project. Now there's multiple projects that have the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you and something, especially with the archaeologists, egos really come to play. And if you go by that, then I don't think there'll be an office left. It's everybody's egos put first. So that's where the professionalism comes into play. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just feel like clapping for you, but I'll save it for another day. Thank you. That was extensive. You talked about, which means you've had an experience. Some of them may even go as low as trying to discredit you, trying to do something that will make people believe you are not as good as you say.
That you're incapable of your work.
Your work.
Yes, I experienced that too. So, and there was a time, one of the archaeologists that tried to do that, I tried to explain to her that our roles here are different. You are here to protect some resource. I'm here to extract a different resource. So do not impose what my mission is into what yours is, because my mission and your mission are different.
Exactly.
She makes me feel like, oh, if I'm not protecting some artifact that is not even visible, then I'm not good enough to do my job as a geologist. I'm a geologist, not an archaeologist. And yes, I could respect artifacts that are visible, but when you're telling me that you're protecting a road because some Native Americans said their ancestors did one thing, or their ancestors told them a snake peed on that road. I don't understand it. Like that's what really, it hits me. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? so because I don't believe or go along, develop my project. But oh no, let me take it back. So this was a project for extracting gold. Then they don't want this company to extract this gold because the Native Americans said the gold is the pee of a snake, which your ancestors served. So that gold itself cannot be extracted because the pee of a what? So
I'm just hearing that
doesn't
today.
fly with me. That's a pee of a snake, so it can't be extracted. I'm sorry. That's not what I learned in my geology. As I studied that the gold comes from pee of a snake. So I'm sorry if I don't buy into that. That does not make me make me not good enough to do my job as a geologist, not an archaeologist.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, Simone, do you have any experience in line with storming?
I've never had any direct experience because but I do have a situation that happened after I left a job. So at a previous job, I was the accounting supervisor.
Wow.
And when I resigned from that position
Okay.
back in 2022, I just decided that I had enough and I left. So after I left, you know, I had people that I've worked with who were still with the company.
Yeah.
And there was a staff accountant that I was training. And my manager, not my manager, the CFO at the time thought that I was not giving him enough to do. And what I had explained to her was that my job is to analyze where people are and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Because he would make so many small mistakes. And I said, I cannot give him a full workload and trust that he's going to get it done without me having to come behind him to make corrections.
Yeah.
So what I did was I was working with him to get better at those small mistakes. So that then I could feel comfortable giving him a full workload where I can trust that things are going to be done accurately and I don't have to go back and make all these corrections down the line.
Yeah.
So I'm always the kind of person that want to instill whatever knowledge I have. I have no problem sharing knowledge, whether I'm there or not. So after I left, there was an opportunity for him to grow. Now, was he ready for that position given the level of detail that's required, the amount of time and attention? He was not ready yet because I knew that. And that's why I gave him things slowly. So when I left, he saw the opportunity to, one, I guess he saw a way to make more money and to take on more work. And they gave it to him. And he got a new title and everything, and he got the money and the role. But what happened was, just like I had expressed, he was not ready. He was not ready. So the stress of the job got to him. And behind that, he was telling people, you know, saying like, oh, I'm not going to be like Simone. She's here all hours and all the time that she puts in. And he doesn't understand why I did things a certain way. And it didn't make any sense. So, trying to make it seem as if I didn't know what I was doing.
Exactly.
So when he got the full workload now, it became too much because one, you don't know how to balance your workload.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have time management. You have to know, you have to have the ability to pivot, which the role requires. You could be working on one thing, you come in the next day and you're being told to do this. And then you could lose track if you don't.
Yeah.
And the job wasn't getting done. And when he finally decided to leave, and they realized that they had put all their money into him, thinking he's getting all this work done, and he wasn't, which is kind of sad. And I think, a lot of people think that they're ready for the next role, but, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like gain those basic training.
Yeah.
And before you start to take on more, you need the foundation.
Yeah.
And if you skip the foundational part, you're going to run into problems down the line. And that was a perfect example for him.
Yeah.
While in the process, he was bad mouthing me when all I was trying to do is impart what was imparted on me in the early phases of my accounting career. I learned everything from the ground up and I got a good foundation, which has allowed me to excel throughout my career path. So, people got to learn.
Exactly. Once the foundation is wrong, you're building on nothing and everything one day will come down.
Yes.
And because of the hunger to want to be at the top, lots of people would want to skip a step and now start talking down the top. But the opportunity was given and you see what was the result. The consequence was devastating. So that is that. We ought to gradualize. So in an organization, you will see all these where people think you have to come down for them to climb, who feel that they are not seen because you are blocking their shine, you know. Just hold on. Hold on. Hello? Okay, boy, I'm here. I'm not here. No, boy.
Okay.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Well, because I don't like. Some people are okay with. I guess showing off, like once they've reached a status. I'm not that kind of person, so even if I've experienced and I've done things, I won't necessarily talk about it unless, I'm directly asked and I feel comfortable speaking on it, but I don't do things for show. So maybe that's why he hasn't heard about that stuff, because I feel like sometimes it can be perceived as being showy. Oh, you're a supervisor, you're a director, whatever. But, I'm not a showy kind of person.
Okay.
If you don't ask me directly.
Yeah.
And for this, I met Simone as a leader. I met her at the workplace where she was a key holder. So that's you're already in a leadership position. That's how I met and how I met you. So I'm not surprised at this. It's just that each time we've talked about your career, you haven't talked about it from a leader.
Was that for her to respond?
Like this, you just did this, and you could like give a whole. You could talk about this in a seminar format, like.
Oh,
and
no,
it's
I
not
couldn't
like
do that.
yes, you can, and it's not. You're not going to bring other things. It just your lived experience. It just came out so smoothly, and
did you not see that?
Like
I was just learning.
So I don't know what you mean by I can't do public speaking.
When you have
what
done
you
it. When you just
done it. We're in an intimate space. We're in an intimate space, and it's just us. So I think I feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. But
that's it.
I wish I could, but that's very difficult. That's very difficult.
It's okay.
Yes,
they say picture people naked and stuff like that. I cannot.
Oh boy!
All
wow,
right.
That was a good one, though. I just want to comment. I want to give you your flowers now. That was good.
I hope you're not going to give out those ugu you gave me last time, right?
No, your own was bitter leaf.
Was bitter. That was sad. All right, let's move on. So we now have that. You see all these experiences, and Simone, you can actually communicate fluently. You see how smoothly you were communicating. You put together the scenarios. There was a good coherence the way you presented that. You will listen to it later after this training. You go back and listen to how you helped us understand your experience, and it was fantastic. And I'm going to publish this like this, with your names, being mentioned here, and this your story like that. I'm not going to cut it out. So the whole world someday will come and say, who's that? Who's that? Let me go and learn communication from that, from her.
If you do this now, you're not going to hear Simone speak again in your future classes. You're not going to hear her speak in your future classes. If you do that.
I'll cut. Should I? No. Well, she will let me know what to do. Because it's her speech, so she can say cut it off and just only send it to me. Let me listen. All right, let's move on. So this brings us to manage team. And in this process, we are tracking the team member performance. We are providing feedback, resolving issues, and managing changes that would optimize the team performance. So that is about that. We need some input. We need to look at the project management plan, the project documents, the work performance reports that have been given about how well the team member or the team is doing. We look at the team performance assessment, the whole team. What assessment do we have, like the one that Simone gave about that individual? How well is he doing? And when he would be due for a much more workload. You know, she was just managing him in time, and while the organization needed him to be on top of everything without gradualizing, but having looked at him, she gave an assessment that this man had to be taken from 1 to 2, 2 to 3 before we would consider him flying. Okay, so you do that. Now, for management, you know, management is a soft skill. Yeah, we use some material sometimes, but our interpersonal and team skills, the way we can manage team, work with team, is what is required of us to get good results when we manage our team. Then the output here, we would see where people are not meeting up, where strategy plans which we have are not serving well. We come up with a change requests and we request that be changed. And if it's been approved, we go back to the project management plan or that aspect of the project management plan that necessitates the change to put it in there, and then we deploy it. Then the project management plan is updated, the project documents are updated, the enterprise environmental factors are updated. Now, if we're managing, we'll be coming out with new knowledge. That's why you see that almost everything here aside the change request is about updates. We have new experiences. So we do that. And what else is there? Let me see. What else is there? Okay, so that's that. When we talk about interpersonal skills, remember we're talking about people. If you're managing people, there may be times that people storm. When they storm, that's like conflict. You must be able to manage the conflicts among them, and that's part of your team skill. That's an interpersonal skill. How you resolve them. You'll be making decisions if you have to separate some team members and I put them in different areas, or if they have to work alone. And you should be also emotionally intelligent. Yeah, it should be emotionally intelligent. It's important you know how the behavior of one person can affect the behavior of the other person, either negatively or positively, or how their own behavior too can affect your own behavior. This is about your emotional inclination. And then how do you influence the team? How do you lead the team? You must influence them to go in the direction of realizing the objective, which is important. And like we say, leadership, you are ensuring that you are empowering them to common goal while they are happy getting the same result. You're not only coercing them to take the step. So this brings us to controlled resources. The resources that have been estimated must be controlled. We don't want to we don't want to underuse resources. We don't want to overuse resources, because resources represent money. So we must ensure that we control the resources, the physical resources that are assigned or allocated to the project activities. And talking about the plan, we must ensure that we monitor the plan versus the actual utilization of the resources, and we take corrective measures when necessary. So that's that. Then what do we do? If you are controlling resources, you must be looking at the usage, be analyzing the usage. Is it too much or too low, or what are we going to do? You are doing this analysis where there are issues, where there are problems, you're resolving the problems, and you are ensuring that usages are being documented. That's why the project management information systems have to be used, like the Primavera. Resource usages must be documented. That way we have actual as against plan. The plan must be seen, the actual use must be seen, like I showed us the other time. So these are the tools that are needed to get this done. The work performance information, how well are we doing? There must be an information, which is the output now. We will look at the work performance data to analyze. And when we analyze the work performance data, we come up with an information. This information is the report that we want to give to senior management, the report we want to share amongst ourselves, that tells of how well we are doing, the trends we have. Are we going to be finishing the project with reserves, or we're going to be needing more money or more resources? We would know when we analyze the work performance data that is found in the input. Now, if you are controlling resources, you must understand the agreement. Also, what is the agreed upon amounts, what exists between the parties that are making the investment. So this is it. This is a template that you would use when you start your project. So when we talk about that, remember, when you're managing resources, you're managing people, you need to understand certain things that can motivate the people. There are lots of theories that have been propounded that can motivate the people. There are lots of theories that have been used over time to influence people towards the realization of a common goal. So all these must be placed in perspective, and you must use them. You must know when to use what. And one of it includes the Maslow hierarchy of needs and the Herzberg and the McGregor. There are lots of them we can talk about, but let's see what they are to be able to know when to use them. We have the expectancy theory too, where the influence and power comes in, the effectiveness of manager, and so on and so forth. Let me see. Okay, talking about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you need to know that where somebody is in life would influence what somebody needs, will influence the input he will give to things, and you need to know that. And when you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you will need to know how to develop people. Yeah, he said Maslow developed a hierarchy of needs that states that people's behavior are guided or motivated by a sequence of needs, you see. So now let's take a look at it from the bottom. The bottom is about their physiological needs. When we talk about physiological needs, which is at the low level, more people are at this level of the triangle. That's why you see that the pyramid is bigger at the bottom, where what people want will be food. If you give them food, they will perform well. If you give them water and whatever, they will give you their best. Lots of people are at this level. When they graduate from there, they get to a level where if they have secured food, if they have secured water, they get to the satisfaction level where they just want safety. They just want to be in a place where they can stay enjoying these foods, they stay enjoying this water that you have given them. That is the number 2. This area is their physical safety and the economic security that they need at this level. So when you supply that, they give you, they perform better, and you keep moving on to the social, where in the social, they want to be accepted and beloved by lots of people. They want to be part of lots of other people in the society. They want to join association. They want to be seen as the top class in the society. At that level, if you promise them that, they give you another level of their performance, and so forth. We move to the esteem level, where they need recognition and praise. So someone who is at this level, and you want to motivate that person, what do? You start recognizing that person. That person only needs awards. He wants government recognition. He wants to answer top names. That's what he wants in the society. So if you want to cajole that person into performing well, you must promise that person such a thing. And we have the self-actualization, and that is at the apex of it, is at the pinnacle of it. So where they speculate for innovations. They've gotten all these, they've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4. They are at self-actualization. So they're looking at challenging projects. That's only what it's not about money. In fact, don't even pay me. And I think, can you see what we are doing right now? We're just learning, and we are not talking about money that much, You see, that's a level too that somebody may want to attain. So if we get a place where I will be working, and at the same time you can gather people for me to be teaching, I would like to be there. And that's that. Yeah, that is me for you. So that's one. When we talked about the McGregor's theory X and Y, I need you to see that these are different kinds of theories. The X assumes workers dislike and avoid work. Can you see that people that are put together to work for an organization may not want to work? So you, as the project manager, you must use coercion. You must force them. You must threaten them. You must, look for schemes to control them before they can meet your objective. That's a perspective that some people, some managers have. They are working with theory X. So when they put people together, they always want to take out the cane. They want to show them the cane. They want to discipline people that are not meeting up, because they believe people will not want to work if you don't discipline them. You know, that's their idea. What are the theory why is different? The theory why manager assumes that individual consider work as natural as play or rest, and enjoy the satisfaction of esteem and self-actualization needs. This manager is thinking that people naturally would like to work with recognition. They want to work so you can recognize them. I don't know if that one is right. When you get to your project, you will look at your people and find out what is applicable to the project in hand. Then the theory Z is actually, he said, and is based on the Japanese approach to motivating workers, emphasizing trust, quality, collective decision-making, and cultural values. That it's only when they have trust, they may want to give the best. If the project encourages quality, they will bring out the best. If they are allowed to make decisions among others, they would want to give in their best. You see, all these are the various theories that have been put together. So when you have the material, you can complete these other additional theory, the expectance theory, the power and the influence, and so and so forth. So this indeed brings us to the end of today's training. I actually promised us just maximum 1 hour. It could have been 1 hour if not that we had to take turn. You know, if we finished his own class, if Simone came in and we went on and we shared. So you pardon me for taking the class.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So as a project manager, how do you, in your experience, how do you motivate your workers or your resources in order to get the project to where you need it to be, whether it's incremental stages or straight through to the finish line?
Okay, you need to understand this question you've just asked. You need to know that it's an answer that must be called out of the context. What is it? What is demotivating the people, right? You have to identify the stoppage. It is what is demotivating the people that you may want to resolve to bring in the motivation. But in a place where what is demotivating them is less pay, you may want to introduce incentives into the realization of certain goals in time. It's okay. Since it's less paid, they would need more money. So you may want to come up with extra time. And even the extra time, you may want to say, okay, let's pay more. So you introduce that in your plan. And these are things you can come up with. In a place where you discover that they like different things like recognitions and words of affirmation. When they do things, you hit some milestones, they make some certain innovative contributions, you celebrate it by coming to want to put their pictures on the board, their name on the board. Maybe at the end of the week, you come up with an award system, you hand it over to them, and you give them an opportunity to make certain speech, and you must, different things. When you see what is causing the stoppage, you may come up with what can take it away. So that is one. So, but you look at recognition and awards, rewards, words of affirmation. You listen to them. You give them opportunities. You correct them in a lovable way. You ask questions about their challenges, and you show concern. You make contributions to things that will bring the collectiveness of the team. You try to bring the family aspect of family aspect into the team. All these are, I don't know which you can use at a time, but if you see what is causing the stoppage, you may know what should be used. Did I speak like you or half as you?
You spoke fine, but I wouldn't compare my speech to yours.
You don't know what happened there until you hear it from the president that he is nominating you after his second tenure. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm going to be stopping the recording right now.